Before we start, this is not legal advice. I am not an attorney. This channel focuses on the administrative side of USCIS filings, the paperwork, and the intake issues that can cause delays or rejections. If you are filling out USCIS forms and feeling a little anxious about making a mistake, you are not alone. Many people with perfectly valid cases run into delays or rejections, not because they are ineligible, but because of small administrative issues that get caught at intake. This is something I have seen come up again and again. For some context, my wife and I went through the adjustment of status process together for her green card. We self-filed the entire packet just over a year ago. Going through that process really opened my eyes. A lot of this comes down to consistency, formatting, and small details that do not always jump out at you when you're filling things out. From reading many real cases and from our own experience, most rejections don't happen because someone misunderstood the laws. They usually happen because something didn't line up across the forms. A date in one place does not match a timeline somewhere else. A section is technically optional but left unclear. Or a form version or payment detail stops the process before anything else is even reviewed. One important thing people do not always realize is how USCIS intake actually works, especially at the lockbox. When a packet is rejected, review often stops as soon as a single rejectable issue is found. That doesn't necessarily mean the rest of the packet was reviewed in detail. It helps to understand what intake review actually involves. Intake review is not a deep analysis of your case. It is a basic administrative check. Are the correct forms included? Are required fields completed? Are signatures present? Are the fees correct? Is the form addition current? If something fails that initial check, the process often stops there. That is why many people are surprised when their packet is returned. They assume eligibility was reviewed. In most cases, it was not. So when people resubmit, they fix the one issue mentioned in the rejection notice. But sometimes, other small administrative issues are still sitting in the packet. Those issues may only show up the second time around. Here are a few examples of how this shows up in real filings. Dates that technically make sense but do not match across forms. Household size answered one way on one form and differently on another. Sections that were optional but left blank without clarification. Or payment details that were correct in amount but incorrect in method. None of these issues mean someone is ineligible, but any one of them can cause a packet to be returned before anything else is reviewed. That is why it's worth slowing down and checking for consistency across the entire filing before you send it, even if you are confident you followed the instructions. This channel focuses on explaining that administrative side of the process, not legal advice. Just practical insight into how filings are actually handled. The purpose of understanding this is not to make the process feel overwhelming. It is to make it more predictable. If you know that intake review is administrative, you can approach the filing differently. You slow down. You compare forms side by side. You look for internal consistency, not perfection, consistency. That alone can reduce avoidable delays and unnecessary resubmissions. One thing that is worth saying clearly is that these issues do not usually happen because someone was careless. In many cases, the person filing did their research. They read the instructions, they followed the steps. The problem is that USCIS forms are not reviewed one question at a time. They are reviewed as a packet. That means answers are compared. Dates are cross-checked. And information is evaluated for internal consistency. Something that makes sense on its own can still raise questions when viewed alongside the rest of the filing. That is why people are often confused when they receive a return or a rejection. They know they answered honestly, they know they followed the instructions. But the issue was not honesty. And it was not eligibility, it was alignment. Understanding that difference helps explain why the same types of issues keep showing up again and again. If you are in the middle of a USCIS filing, I hope this helps you feel a little more grounded about where these problems tend to come from. Please comment down below if you have any specific topics you'd like us to cover. Thank you for watching.